It's from Arachar at the head of Loch Long that we start the walk up two of Scotland's most accessible Munros today, Beinn and Beinn Narnain. They form part of what's known as the Arachar Alps. It's an area where many fledgling Munroists first started taking their faltering steps into the hills, myself included incidentally. And I suppose the reason for that is that the accessibility is marvellous. It's less than an hour's drive from Glasgow and there's good public transport in the shape of buses to bring you here. It's a sea level start and you can see how well used the car park at the base is, but that's because this is the access point for a number of very well used hills. Now the path takes you up through a corridor like break in the trees, and very steeply I should say.
I have never heard the name of this mountain pronounced by a Gaelic speaker, but if Narnain is one word, it must be pronounced in Gaelic Narnain.
It's a pity that, as usual, all those cars equal hundreds of boots that make a mountainside look like this, but don't worry, it's not like this all the way up. Well, the first part of the route is relatively easy, though very moist. It's almost like walking up through a river. It takes you through a piece of forest, which might not be here when you do it, because they're clearing the trees as we speak. And from here you get a marvellous view of the grim hamlet that is Arachar, and you can still make out the lovely, charming village sounds. What's that? Oh, it's a Sunday Post reader composing a letter to the editor about a lack of toilet facilities. One thing's for sure, you're certainly not going to lose the path here because it's terribly well constructed around some big concrete blocks. It would make the M25 blush. There's conflicting theories on the origin of the concrete blocks. One is that they're the foundations of a small railway and the other is they carried a water pump. Another yet suggests they were part of a construction to get tools and materials up the hill. The strange sticks you see there are tree protectors where the Forestry Commission are planting in the newly cleared areas. Keeps the deer from eating the saplings. Once you're off that huge dual carriageway, things start to become a little bit more enjoyable. And the main drag takes you up southwest towards the Cobbler, more of that later. However, our route now takes us straight up this hillside and on to Beinn Narnain. This is where you get a fantastic view of Loch Long behind me, and the MOD really appreciate its length for firing torpedoes up it. And incidentally, if during a 4-minute warning, should that dreadful day come and you've been planning to take to the hills, don't do it in the Arachar Alps, because here we're only a few miles away from Europe's largest nuclear weapons dump. You've never heard Sir Harry Seacombe sing about that in Highway when he's in the Highlands, have you? Now it's fantastically rewarding because obviously the higher you get up this path, the more the views open out and you get this superb view of Loch Lomond and Ben Lomond behind it and the other hills that surround it. But the one thing I would say about Beinn Narnain is it's a mountain of false summits. Every time you come up to a rise and think you're going to glimpse the top, no, there's another rise behind it. In fact, it's been known to make many a hard Munroist go, och. Sight of the Cobbler is a really memorable one. In fact, this was the first mountain I ever climbed, aged 16. So that's what you have to blame for this series. And if you keep your eyes open and don't walk up the hills staring at your boots, you can sometimes spot some fantastic wildlife, like this eagle. Well, this is the real top of Beinn Narnain, 3,006 feet. And how could Scotland look more beautiful than today? A light dusting of early snow in the high tops. You can see behind me the Arrochar Alps and see just how rewarding they are in their accessibility. This is Beinn Narnain. Now that's a mountain that you would normally do in tandem with Beinn Narnain just to make a superb day out. And the views just carry on and on. You can see all the way across to Mull and Jura. And this, I think, is an example of the absurdity of Munro bagging. 6 feet over 3,000 feet that makes Beinn Narnain a Munro, but Ben Arthur, the cobbler there, is 200 feet short of it, so it doesn't get included in the list. But if you come all the way up here and you miss doing that, then I think you're mad. Next week we travel to Laganside to do the Nature Conservancy Council's Craig Meggie, and we go to Kintail to do the fabulous Five Sisters. Do you think it suits me?
Definitely.
What do you think makes me look, more macho then?
A macho mountaineer.
I mean, I know this is your theory, I just don't feel it yet, but you're convinced that once I get up there and I've got the beard, then I'll be stronger,